Minneapolis, St. Paul, The Fan.
Programming on The Fan, including weekly pit stops by Pete Bercich to 9 to noon. It's brought to you by Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed Grass-Fed Beef.
Hey, Peter. Paul Allen, what's going on?
Not much. What's up with you?
It's a Monday for a Thursday, and
it's a Monday, all right.
Yeah, you're at Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center. I'll be there probably about 90 minutes from now. What's it like over there right now?
I don't know. I've been looking at Gabe. You know, Gabe's got a pile of tissue sitting here next to him.
Yeah,
he's upset. I'm trying to talk him off the ledge a little bit. So it's helping me out by helping others out.
Yeah, and you always have been a very serve-conscious human being. At Pete Bercich via Twitter for hardcore football takes. And you'll see some film breakdowns and analysis by Pete and stuff like that during the course of the week at Vikings.com. Other than the -3 in the take give, why did we lose?
Well, I mean, it's hard to look too much further past that. I think some other glaring things are things that stand out, right? You had a couple, the Jay Ward mistake. That's a huge mistake, right? It's a rookie mistake, whatever you want to call it. Lewis Cine having to burn a timeout. Those are little detail things that you have to clear up because those will, in a well-played, very good game against a good team, those things can cost you, right? This is above and beyond the -3. The one thing though that you go back in your mind and you look at what Tampa Bay did and the changes they made that Canales made in the second half. Right, they just ran the ball on first down and second down. They weren't moving the chains on first and second down, but they got the third manageable. They sustained some drives. In the last 13 minutes and 37 seconds of that game, right? Yeah. Tampa Bay ran 25 plays. We ran 6.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah,
3 and out.
That's a full quarter.
3 and out. Right. 3 and out. 3 and out. And then now that they're moving the football on the ground and keeping things going, you can't get the offense back on the field. Right? Yes, was there a fourth down attempt? Yes. Was there a 3rd and 1? So there were some things along the way, but still, it just, you kind of had that feeling because you asked the question. You're like, "What happened with JJ in the second half?" And I'm thinking, "Wow, he just wasn't out there enough, right? You weren't out there enough to get a beat on what they were doing, to figure out what you were gonna do against it, and so that part of it, is I think the next level is to find out what's our identity in the running game." Because those are the times that you need to just buckle down and move the chains a couple times, right? And even Hawkinson said it after the game, right? He said it's hard to get into a rhythm when you're 3 and out. Hard to get into a rhythm when you're 3 and out. Okay, exactly. Those are the times. Those are the key times, the key drives where you have to at least move the chains a little bit. So that part of it needs to be addressed, needs to be fixed.
Yeah, and the Vikings offense had 5 3-and-outs yesterday, and those 2 at the end of the game yesterday certainly they hurt the most.
And Nordo, here's the other thing: your quarterback's 35. You can't throw the ball 74% of the time. Yeah. You might be able to do it here and there, but you can't be 76% pass all year. It's not sustainable. You can't do it.
So with the defense yesterday, so the interesting part about that run game that Tampa was unveiling, they were the worst in the NFL a year ago, weren't great yesterday, 2.2 per, a long run of 6. So lack of explosion in the run game for them, but it was just a couple of yards here, set up 3rd and 5, 3rd and 4. What did you see? Maybe 10,000-foot view of our first true look at Brian Flores and this defense.
Well, when we're not blitzing, we're showing blitz, right? You're giving, they're giving the quarterback something to look at and think about on every single play. A year ago, if you remember, it was line up in the front, line up. Nobody would move pre-snap. There were countless times yesterday where you had 8 guys on the line of scrimmage, 9 guys on the line of scrimmage. You always seemed to have some sort of movement. You had people on the line. You had different looks. He was always giving the other, the opponent quarterback something to think about, a possibility, whatever. He didn't just line up and say, okay, this is what we're in. Go ahead, right? And so I think that's the biggest change. The other thing that was interesting was we were 5-man front some of the time. Then next series would be 4-man front, rotating guys in. I mean, Flores plays everybody. If you're on the defense and you've got a number and you got the pads on Sunday and you're active, you're getting out there. He's going to use everybody. So I think those are all, I think, really good things. I've talked to some of the players, and really yesterday after the game, I asked one of them, what do you think of the scheme and the defense? He said it's fun, and I'm thinking to myself, fun? That's fantastic. I mean, to play in a system that's fun. So I think all those things add up, and if you look at the personnel, just from a personnel standpoint, we fielded less of a defense, yesterday than we did the year before, right? You don't have Zadarius Smith, and you don't have Davenport, right? So Davenport's kind of the guy you brought in to fill that role, and you don't have him, right? So we're doing. Can we say you're doing more with less? I think you're getting. I think Flores is getting the absolute best that he can out of these guys that are out there. We had an undrafted rookie free agent playing a lot of linebacker, right? And you have a second-year guy in Brian Asamoah who's been nicked up and hasn't played a ton. So, you lose Kendricks. You don't really replace him with anybody. Mekhi Blackman, so you have an extra corner, but we're still playing with the same group, really, that we had last year. Pretty much the same group of safeties we had last year, right? But we're getting a lot more out of them. Now, it's yet to be seen. We'll see what happens Thursday night, because that's going to be a true test. But overall, that's kind of the feeling I get, right? Is that you just got to get the most you have out of the players that you have, and I think that they're a lot further down the road that way.
Were you surprised at all, though? One more on the defense here, and not to harp on it, but really the idea of getting pressure on Baker. And, our O-line injuries caused some problems for us early on in that game, but completely revamped. We're throwing Tristan Wirfs over to the left. I think, Ryan Jensen was their longtime center. He's out of the mix. So a lot of new faces. And for one reason or the other, save for that early sack from Daniil Hunter, I didn't see a great push from a Harrison Phillips. I didn't notice that Dean Lowry fresh into the mix. I didn't see us really affecting or impacting Baker's game.
Yeah, but you got on. How would I say it? The scheme I think that Tampa did limited a lot of that. They didn't want Mayfield sitting in the pocket, and surveying the field and doing all this. It's just not their style. So it's sometimes when an offense is that quick and getting rid of the football. It's hard to get there even if you're unblocked. We had a couple unblocked guys. We should have had 2 sacks for sure. The bigger concern is just, again, situationally with corners, knowing that when there's a blitz and we should get pressure, that they don't have to play as far off and keep the ball in front of them and challenge some of those outs a little bit more. Another huge mistake too was just letting Mayfield break contain on I think it was a 3rd down play where he got the first down. And it's just like you can't do those things, right? You have to do your job. You can't get too tied up into the tackle and not be able to get off and get to Mayfield if he decides to pull that thing down and run. So the lack of pressure, I think that's yet to be seen. Let's just put it that way. It's yet to be seen.
Now, Jalen Hurts,
the analyst,
he went for 171 in New England. The yards per attempt was only 5.1. He lost a fumble very late, kept New England in the game. Last year, 26 of 31, 333, 1-1 versus us, and they ran for a couple of touchdowns. It's their home opener. The keep contained conversation will be en vogue today, tomorrow, Wednesday on the flight, the mock game on Thursday at the hotel. Jalen Hurts and the home opener off a game the Eagles won, but he was kind of dicey. What do you think?
Well, I remember that game last year. There were 2 things that stood out. Number one, they went full college on the bit, right? They were doing the dive and the option and everything else. And when you're facing, if you're willing as an offense to put your quarterback in that position, and then I think Philly pulled back on that quite a bit toward the end of the season last year, everybody needs to know their responsibility on every single play. And every single defense, every single front, every single blitz, everything that you do, you got to know who's taking care of the dive, who's got the quarterback, if there's a pitch guy, who's taking the pitch. So you have to be, responsibility-wise, you have to be 100% sound. And that's a lot of work right there. So it limits you on what you can do. So will we see that same style out of Hurts, Thursday night? I don't know. I haven't seen the film yet, but I'm really interested and looking forward to watching it. And then defensively, they came out and played a lot more of a 5-man front. That was the thing I think that took, and we kind of saw it on the Netflix bit with the quarterback, was just Cousins early on missed some things because it was a different look. It was just different. It was something that they didn't show the week before. But you have a short week this week, so it's going to be a little bit tougher, I think, to really tweak your game plan too much. I mean, I don't know what to expect for Thursday night. This thing is this early in the season, short week, young players. Who knows, Paul, what's going to happen Thursday night? I think this game is the variability what this game could be. I think this is like more of an experimental football game than it's going to be a true test.
In the Tampa game, now Todd Bowles is very aggressive. He's aggressive by nature, but so is Brian Flores, defensive coordinator for the Vikings. Tampa Bay blitzed 46% of the time, or right around there. I think we blitzed about half the game. I think we blitzed like 47% of the time. Those numbers, and I know it's week by week specific, but just how do those numbers hit you?
I like the fact that you think about as a player, getting to blitz is it puts you in a different mindset, right? Normally on defense, it's a lot of if-thens, right? If my key does this, I do this. If they motion this guy over here, I do that. Blitzing limits that, where you're saying, okay, this is where I line up. That's the gap I'm going through. And as soon as the ball snapped, I'm just going. I'm not reading anything. I'm just going. And it's a different mentality. You're more on your toes. You're going forward more, right? It's attacking. It's a little bit of a different mentality. And I like that. I think the players like that. The players enjoy that. They enjoy, that knowing the scheme and showing this and doing something else. And it gets them to buy in to the defense, and buy into the system a little bit more. And by buying in, I don't mean just necessarily believing, but by buying in, I mean they're going to study film more. They're going to look at more things. But, if I have the freedom to do A, B, and C, then which one am I going to do? So I think that pulls them in. It pulls them into football a little bit more mentally, and that's a good thing. Now, the question is, I've said it before, when you live by the blitz, you die by it, right? And so you just have to know when that you can press that button and continue to get after somebody. And I think Mayfield's one of those quarterbacks where, yes, you absolutely want to pressure that guy because he's at his best when he can survey the defense, know what coverage he gets, takes the snap, boom, gets rid of the football right away or quickly. He wasn't very good once the play broke down, so I think pressure on him was very, very effective. On Hurts, it doesn't matter if you get three guys at the quarterback. If you don't have the athletes, if you're not blitzing the athlete to get him to the ground, and he breaks a tackle, and then you're short in coverage or whatever, he's going to make a big play. So you have to be a little more prudent, I guess, Paul, is my point, about when you blitz and when you want to. But again, they either they showed blitz or blitzed 80-90% of the time. It was a total different. It's a complete 180 from what we're used to seeing. So again, I liked it. I was. You hold an NFL team. I mean, Mayfield completed it 62%, and you held him to 73 rushing yards and 169 passing. I mean, that was this defense compared to what they gave up on average last year. It's a big difference.
On the offensive side of things, Mr. Bercich, Now, I noticed Josh Oliver from a physical standpoint with his 3 catches, 30-some yards, absolutely just trucks Jamel Dean on the far boundary at one point during the game. Did you notice Josh Oliver as a physical presence blocking and trying to create, albeit in very limited opportunities with just 17 rushing attempts? Did you find him along the line showing why we went out there and made it a priority to get him? And now with his first game with the Vikings.
From a run blocking standpoint, off the top of my head, no. Right. But we never had any runs that we had one run against 2 high safety that went 9 yards. Right. That was, they showed 2 high safety. We ran the football and got 9 yards. That's what you're supposed to do. But I don't recall off the top of my head any situations where you get a big 20-yard run, you want to replay it, and you see what happened and who did what block, and so from that end of it, that aspect, no. But again, the running game, when you get 41 yards on the ground, there aren't going to be a lot of blocking highlights.
What'd you think of Jordan Addison? We were talking about him earlier. I thought he kind of sizzled in his first opportunity, and you were mentioning snap counts and such from yesterday's game. Josh Oliver played about half the snaps. We saw Addison in the mix, and I just completely lost the number in front of me here. But he was at just over half, about, I think, 56% of the snaps. What do you think from the USC kid's debut?
It was good. He took advantage. Tampa they were doing something funky coverage wise, and we were hurrying up, getting in the line of scrimmage, and the safety just I can't remember which one it was, but they had a blown coverage, and we took advantage of it. He made the play and scored the touchdown. So I like Addison as an answer to JJ, working with JJ. Our 2-man answer is Hawkinson, and we have those pieces, and I think that's going to work real well. It's just, let's face it, Tampa Bay Todd Bowles did a really, really good job of knowing how to blitz and what to blitz, and to keep our offense really kind of, I think, on their heels, or our offense was forced to adjust to what they were doing, not just go out there and execute what they wanted to do. Does that make sense? It wasn't as if they lined up exactly where we thought they were going to, and we can execute all the stuff we game planned. It was a day of adjustments. And so for Bowles, that was it was a good job on his part to limit what our offense was wanting to do.
Hey, last one here, my brother, and I'll see you later today. Alexander Madison in his first start as the bell cow. I mean, as knowing he is the identifiable one. I recall you or Pete or you or Ben mentioning a missed pass protection early in the game. But in watching it back, or just remembering with your keen eye and your elite football mind, Did Alexander, did he go to missing some holes and or some pass protection yesterday?
No, I'm sure he had one block. It was a slide and kind of they slide the line one way, and then the back cuts or seals off the backside depending on, the 5 or 3-step drop. And it was Antoine Winfield Jr., if I remember correctly, and he hit him, but just didn't get enough of them, and he still got the pressure on the quarterback. Right. So it's not like a missed error or he completely whiffed or anything like that. I'm sure he would love to have that down back and, do that one over again. So, but Madison overall, I did not see, he had CJ Ham in the backfield quite a bit on third down to help with protection, I think, too. So you have a bigger body back there. So, from a running back standpoint, I'd have to go back and look at the film and really see if the running backs were deficient or efficient. But yeah, that was one play where there was a pressure on Cousins, and we had a body for a body, right? And again, when teams blitz, if you can block it up, we can have something big happen. And it did happen. We had some big plays when we were able to block up when they were getting aggressive. But you just need to hold out for that split second longer. And, that's really it. So overall, that's part of it, happens to everybody.
When you get your game calling depth chart going, and maybe you already have, eliminate Nakobe Dean, their middle linebacker is going to miss at least a month with injury. I believe it's a foot injury. So they will have a replacement man in the middle. I appreciate you, brother. See you soon.
All right, thanks, Paul. See you.
Yep.
See you, Nardo.
That's Pete Bercich, analyst for the Vikings Radio Network. The Sultan of Smog with the border battle and or the Packer review and David Sinykin around the corner.
KFAN, The Fan.
Fields takes the snap with time. Now fires it up in the middle. Intercepted. Way Walker at the 30 to the 25. Cutting right. Breaks a tackle. Spins to his left. Still on his feet. 15-10. He's going to the house for a pick six. Touchdown Green Bay.
Border battle.
1-0, Cinny, and you beat Wobble Squad. Good morning.
Morning, Paul. Nothing feels better than a victory over the Bears. It's almost kind of like the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. You know?
Yeah, it's Rodgers, I bleeping own you. And then now it's Jordan Love and the squad heading to Soldier Field and keeping the I bleeping own you mantra very much in vogue. It's 38-20 now. The FIGA, Fairness in Green Bay Packers Act. We know the Chicago Bears defense definitely has some problems. We know the quarterback, at least for my taste, has lost his swivel. Let's start there. Did Justin Fields find his swivel, or is it look at Darnell, look at DJ? They're covered, so run every time.
Yeah, it was a lot of that. He didn't have a whole lot of time to look at survey the situation and try to make a second or third read. And, when Jair Alexander is all over DJ Moore, he's not going to find him. So there wasn't a whole lot of options for him. It was just a really solid performance by Green Bay's defense. Again, yes, against a marginal offense that really is not very good. But, still, you're on the road, division game, all the pageantry that goes around this new era, and the Bears are ready to finally, pass the Packers. It was very good to see the defense stand up and make Justin Fields look like Justin Fields.
Now there was some chatter into the season and by you and by me and by some others who follow it closely, which I think will be accurate, that Green Bay is definitely a run first team with Jordan Love at quarterback. While you're without Christian Watson, Dobbs played quite well. Jaden Reed is somebody I think is going to get better as the season goes on, and I think he's good. But forget the score. I mean, it's an 18-point win, and 28 of those points scored in the second half. Did you get the feel of an offensive identity change for your juicy squad, and it indeed is run first?
Not as much as I would like to be honest, especially on a day where there's no Christian Watson. Romeo Dobbs played half the snaps as he's nursing a hamstring and made the most of those snaps he was in. But Aaron Jones touched the ball, I think, 5 times on the opening drive, which was a touchdown, and then didn't touch the ball the rest of the first half. I was looking at my milk carton to see if his face was on it. I mean, how do you just go away from Aaron Jones? Suddenly, somebody shook Matt LaFleur at halftime and said, 33's healthy. He's wearing a helmet. You might want to use him. And then the very first drive of the third quarter, Jones accounts for 68 of the 75 yards and shows that he is the engine to this offense, that Green Bay's offense will go as far as Aaron Jones takes it. A.J. Dillon, to be honest, looks just pedestrian when he comes in to take over for Jones. It's like an entirely different offense. So hopefully this coaching staff will figure out, yes, he's slight of build and he's almost 28, 29. You don't want to overuse Aaron Jones, but you need to use Aaron Jones. And they finally figured that out in the second half. That has to be the identity of this offense.
Devontae Wyatt, the defensive tackle, sack and a half in one game, the same amount he had in 16 last year. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I said going into the season, if Green Bay's defense is finally going to live up to its billing, it's going to be because those 2 second-year Bulldogs take second-year leaps. And, again, one game against the Bears is not ready to make any vast pronouncements. But Wyatt was disruptive all day and looks like a completely different player, at least off of one game. And, with him next to Kenny Clark and teams paying a lot of attention to 97, if Devontae Wyatt can step up and be worthy of that first-round pick, the Mist defense looks entirely different going forward.
Overall, taking everything into account, David Sinykin, it is Packer Review. It's the border battle. It's a 2-decade piece. Don't add us. And it's 1140. The quarterback overall, first regular season, season opener. How did he look?
Well, I can't really quibble about anything. Did he miss? Oh, I'll quibble about this. He missed a couple deep throws. There's certainly a few throws that he wants back. But on the very first drive, third play of the day, it's 3rd and 13, and he fires just an absolute dart to Romeo Doubs to move the chains and takes the team down the field. It was a short field because the defense got a stop on 4th down, but he took the team into the end zone on the opening drive, which Green Bay did a grand total of 1 time all last season. So that was a really nice start. Overall, he looked very good, again, against a lousy Bears defense. But with the pressure on him and all the backdrop and the storylines, PA, the main stat is this. On 3rd and 4th downs, he was 8 for 10, 141 yards, 2 touchdowns, a perfect passer rating. And the one thing we wanted to know about Jordan Love is on big plays in tough situations, 3rd, 4th down, time to move the sticks, can he deliver? And he was nearly flawless, including a 4th and 3, 35-yard touchdown to Aaron Jones. It was all you could ask for from Chapter 1 of the Jordan Love era, a long book yet to be written. But I watched Orlovsky on Get Up this morning, showing how he's looking off linebackers, like he's learned under Rodgers how to manipulate those defenders into finding open guys. And to see that in his very first start of 2023 is so encouraging. And frankly, the only defenses on this schedule this year that might give you pause are the Steelers and Broncos. I mean, Green Bay's offense is not going to face a lot of real tough Eagles, Niners, Cowboys. They're not on the schedule. So I think things kind of point to a real opportunity for Jordan Love to gain some confidence and be very productive in his first year as a starter.
Congratulations on the victory, my brother. I'll call you soon.
Sounds good. Good luck Thursday night, PA.
Thank you, David Sinykin, the head cheese at TC Head Cheese via Twitter. Our final.
Insured by NCUA.
Hey, it's Barrero. Catch me at The Fan.
Jordan Hicks, linebacker for the Minnesota Vikings, is a weekly guest for the Vikings Report with Bump. Assumedly, he'll take part in that. I know the players are on the field for a walkthrough during Bumper to Bumper. But if you get the opportunity, the loquacious, learned, and well-spoken Jordan Hicks is fantastic with Barrero. At least he was last week. So that's coming up later today. The programmer's around the corner. Dan Cole, the common man, ack-ack-a-dack. Give Tenebbe's montage a whack. Speaking of montages, we started with the Stones and then went into the Carpenters with the staple, Rainy Days and Mondays always get us down. Podcast that, including the FVP Batteries elongated opening segment, KFAN.com, 9 to noon on demand if interested. And somewhere during the course of the show, I mentioned that the David versus Goliath or us versus the world tag is misplaced and overblown. Frequently, it's trite and it's forced, and you hear it from a player or a coach, and you're like, "Come on, man! I mean, you're a 3.5-point underdog, and you got some good players and scenarios, and people think you can win." I don't know what the point spread is Thursday night, but when it comes to local and national opinion about the Vikings at the Philadelphia Eagles, even with Nakobe Dean not playing, that ain't going to be the case on Thursday. I mean, think about it. The way the Vikings looked and turned it over, and Vita Vea, and penalties that led to 4 points, and Philly beating Belichick on the road after going to the Super Bowl, and the past performances show we generally get smashed there. And while getting smashed, there's folly along the way. So think about this for tomorrow. Who's willing to proclaim this one is a no-chancer? A 99% L for the Minnesota Vikings. We might do that tomorrow via talkbacks. Maybe we can hear some and save them. But 99% L, David v. Goliath bit, us versus the world. What's your inclination on a Monday for a Thursday? And good morning.
Good morning. They're 7.5-point dogs at the moment for Thursday night. So that's where it sits right now. I believe that the vast majority of Texan talkbacks that we get over the next couple of days and between now and tomorrow are going to be of the no chance. And it's going to lean on what in some ways is historical fact, that in prime time, that mistakes happen in some big spots, that in Philly, whether it's recency or otherwise, you go there a year ago and you made very out-of-character mistakes. I'm not a no-chance guy. Between now and Thursday, all that's going to be on my mind are the various ways in which David can, via the slingshot, make memories
Let's get a
in
rock.
Philly and poke somebody's eye out. So that's the way that I am viewing it.
Yeah.
But if you're just, we must always be pragmatic and on the line. Well, the Vikings, Paul, in prime time have struggles, and as road dogs in certain situations with Kirk Cousins and this, that, and the other thing, Lincoln Financial, it's a boogeyman, Halloween, haunted house hellscape for visiting teams, in particular the Purple. I would believe that that's where the fan base is going to skew after what they saw yesterday.
And if you find it to be loser-proof for the Birds, is it a win by 17 or more, and we offer more folly, like the softballs the quarterback was throwing up last year? Or back in the day after the 04 season, there was a pass to the end zone by Donovan McNabb. They had a tight end named L.J. Smith that bounced off his head into the awaiting arms of somebody for the Eagles, and they won the game. It's folly. It's folly, and it happens every time we go there. Thank you very much for listening to the radio show. Talker Tuesday tomorrow. Ben Gessling from the Star Tribune will join us in studio. Nordo, Mad producer, did a great job with that montage. Listen to it at KFAN.com via podcast. And it's time to put a wrap on the show.
Thanks to Casey's for sponsoring the 9 to noon show wraps. Not the content, just the time slot. And, of course, fire up those medium fountain and frozen drinks. You can do it all year long, but 89 cents during the summertime. The thin crust pizza's elite. Casey's, they're all over the place. Check them out. Casey's, here for good. At the bank yesterday around 3:15, a shocking dip in the levels of dopamine. Turnovers had our faces turning a shade of green. Viral vids, people punching their TV screens. Week 1, and we're already bitter. We're rage posting on X, formerly Twitter. Brought the kids. Next time I'll pay a sitter. Saw a drunk dude make $100 drinking his spitter. Ugh. I was sure that it'd be a win. Though confidence in this team must be considered a sin. The run game, man. I was a fiend itching my skin. And we knew that O-line depth was pretty thin. Now, new short week heading to Philly. Vikings fans at the game better be dressed in ghillies. Hearing Sinykin's smug optimism, just silly. You'd think he'd come back to earth, but will he?
Loserville sounds better in FM.
Podcast or listen back to previous show and interviews by going to the iHeartRadio app or